but abused. Why?
You know, I did not know that.
Chris, hindi ko alam if it was a case of stupidity at kaya nga merong proseso called impeachment.
Okay, andito tayo ngayon with now Congresswoman-elect Laila De Lima from ML Party List. Laila, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure always, and it's good to be back on your show. And siguro, Chris, just call me Manay Laila lang muna.
Manay Laila, sige.
I'm not yet used to that,
Right.
being called Congresswoman. So
Okay.
I'll be more comfortable with Manay
Manay
Laila.
Laila. Okay. You know, I have a hard time saying Manay kasi apparently I'm pronouncing it wrong.
It can be either Manay or Manay.
Okay. So, hindi naman pala mali to say
Yeah,
Manay. Okay.
yeah.
Kasi naku-conscious ako. That's why I'm refusing to say it because I'm like, baka naman people are gonna keep making fun of me because I'm saying it wrong. Pero pwede naman palang Manay or Manay. Okay. So, Manay Laila, so now that you are back in Congress, before when we were doing the first interview, you were not in Congress yet. Now that you are, alam mo, ang dami tayong pwedeng pag-usapan in terms of mga legislation na pwede mong gawin. But let me just first get to this point lang, na how do you feel about going back in Congress, coming from being a senator, and what is the main difference between Senate and Congress at this point from what you're seeing?
Okay, that's normally question that I'm asked. No, why? At first, when I finally run for party list, people were also asking why party list, why House of Representatives and no longer Senate. But definitely, running for Senate was really out of my plans when I was released in November 2023, and even the party list. But then again, when I decided to join really the party list elections, I was telling myself that to me it won't make a difference whether in the Senate or the House of Representatives. It all depends on your performance. It all depends on how you would use your platform. Because having a post in government, any especially for executive and legislative, is actually an opportunity, an opening for you to have a platform to pursue your advocacies. So that is how I will do it. Just use my new platform as a member of the House of Representatives, not as a senator, to pursue my advocacies. And especially this time, as a party list representative, when you talk about party list, it's supposed to be genuine representation
Yes.
of the marginalized sectors. It's actually a real challenge to me, and I would call it again as good for the soul, because you'd be able to do things, introduce legislations that would work for or that would benefit the marginalized sectors that we represent, because they definitely lack the voice. They're voiceless.
Right.
And I offered myself during the campaign, ML as a party list, offered itself as a strong voice for them.
Who is them? Who are you representing when you say that?
Okay, we have several sectors, multi-sectoral arm, because ML is a multi-sectoral arm of the Liberal Party.
Okay.
So these are women, youth, farmers, fisher folks, laborers, indigenous peoples, urban poor, LGBTQIA+, PWDs, and senior citizens. Those are the sectors that we represent. And in fact, during the campaign, we did not only campaign, but also held dialogues with some of the sectors that we represent, because we wanted to hear them out so that we would be sure about the priority legislation that we would be pushing when we make it. And we did make it, although I also feel sad about it that we only had one seat. I would have wanted that my two other lead nominees, Teddy Bronner Bagilat and Erin Tanyada, made it, because they're also, they're very good records, and they're men of integrity, Teddy Bronner Bagilat and Erin Tanyada. But having gotten one seat, to me, is already a feat, because hindi pala ganun kadali magmandidato for party list, Chris. Hindi pala. Kasi ang dami.
Okay.
155 lahat.
Right.
Yung nag-participate. And many of them are already well entrenched. They've been there already for several elections.
Kumbaga re-electionists.
Yes, re-electionists, and they have, meron silang resources, meron silang network na.
Yep.
Compared to us, newbie.
Oh yeah, bago nga pala kayo, tama. Oo.
Newly accredited.
Yes.
Only last year.
Okay.
So nalampasan naman namin yon. So this is...
How do you feel about like you just mentioned maraming mga entrenched na party list na may mga iba nga dyan, may mga pangalan tulad ng mga TV shows o kaya mga government institutions or agencies. How do you feel about that? Because you're gonna be working with them, huh?
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
Actually, Chris, I intend to file amendments, so a mandatory law to the party list system law, because I think many of us know that the party list system has been abused and bastardized all these years. Very good in concept, as envisioned in the Constitution,
Yes.
but abused. Why? Because there are party lists na ang nag-put up political dynasties. So a sort of just an expansion or extension of their political power base. There are party lists na ang mga nasa likod, contractors, big business interests.
No, I did not know that.
Oh.
So how do you if the law states that the party list system is para sa mga marginalized sectors, paano ng isang contractor o isang political dynasty sasabihin na ano yung marginalized sector nila? How do they go around the loophole?
Okay, they would just say in their accreditation papers or in their petition for registration that they represent certain sectors, but we do not know how true or how genuine that is, because yung iba they just put up dummies, but the real ones who control this party list are actually contractors or big business. You should check out the findings of the Contradaya. There is a group.
Okay, Contradaya, yeah.
Yes, they made a survey and a study, research on the party list that participated in the just recently concluded. And indeed, there are around, they are saying that 40+% are really coming from those, either political dynasties or big business or even military and police.
Oh my God.
Connections to the police and the military. And then another bad thing about some party lists would use, as you said, the use of the names of government programs, of TV programs. And COMELEC should not have allowed the use of those names because these are government programs funded by government money. So why would a particular organization, a sectoral organization supposedly, use that name?
Right.
So it's a good thing that few days ago, Chairman George Garcia announced that next time they will no longer allow.
Okay. So that's within the power of the COMELEC to
Yes.
decide on ano yung mga pangalan na pwedeng gamitin at hindi. Pero yung tanong naman, what about with regards to what sector they represent? Is that within the power of, can it be within the power of COMELEC to dictate that you must submit proof na you are truly representing a marginalized sector to a certain extent? Ito yung dapat na proof. Kung di mo mabigay yon, hindi pwede.
It is in fact one of the requirements.
It is. Yeah.
Kaya lang may mga nakakalusot. It is in fact one of the requirements because you have to prove that you truly represent marginalized sectors. Because you have to say there, even if there are several regional party lists, yung mga homegrown party lists with respective territories or areas, ang is dapat ipakita na meron silang mga sektor. So meron silang mga sinasubmit. Ang dapat sana is merong mas malalim na assessment gawin ng COMELEC before they approve the accreditation of a particular party list. In other words, hindi basta-basta maniwala dun sa mga sinasabi sa mga papers that we represent these sectors.
Right.
And then they would put names there of members of that particular sectors. So, dapat yung COMELEC magsaliksik. Sila yung parang kung pwede field
yeah, but at the same time, ang naalala ko sinabi ni COMELEC Chair George Garcia na their job is more administrative, or it sounds like more of a rubber stamp na they don't really have enforcement authority or in the kasi nga they were talking about yung mga tumatakbong mga kandidato with fake documents and hindi naman that within their yun na nga, mandate to verify the authenticity of certain documents. You submit, as long as walang kaso, they'll accept.
I disagree. Kasi it's not really enforcement. It's part of their duty. Quasi-judicial din eh. Even if it's really mainly administrative, they can always come up with guidelines na ganito dapat sa mga kung may mga sektor na supposedly really represent. And they can have a team that can look into the veracity and authenticity ng mga documents ng mga they have all that power constitutional they have all that power to coordinate and tap the services or assistance of other agencies of government.
So maybe is it a question of budget?
I don't think so. Because they can always deputize. Nasa Constitution yan. That's part of their constitutional powers and functions. During the election period, pwede silang mag-deputize. Diba nag-deputize sila sa police, sa military, and others. Other agencies. Let's say mag-ano sila sa DSWD siguro. Ipa-check nga ito. And then yung mga let's say yung 4-piece party list, ipa-check sa DSWD. Ano ba yung mga sektor talaga ng 4-piece?
So, yun na nga. So, regarding 4-piece, walang kinalalaman yan doon sa 4-piece na...
No.
Nothing at all. It's completely different.
Yes.
But it was used to make it sound like it was connected. I thought it was connected.
Yes, many people thought. That's why, actually, Chris... Nasa kulungan pa ako nung na-accredit that party list. And I did issue a statement questioning that. Parang, COMELEC, bakit nyo pinayagan na gamitin yung pangalan ng isang government program? Ako yung principal author of the 4-piece law. So, hindi ko talaga nagustuhan yon. Pero hindi naman ako sinagot ng COMELEC when I issued that statement from prison. Pero sinagot ng the 4-piece. And then ang sabi nila, they have the right to also use that name, 4-piece, kasi yung pangalan ng kanilang party list ay 4 na piece din, letter piece. But it has nothing to do with the Pantawid Pamilya program, which is the real 4-piece.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And they're back.
Yes, they're back.
Okay, so how do you feel about that? Kasi you just made a comment about 4-piece and other party lists that you're going to be working with, their representatives.
I can always work with them when it comes to legislation that can really be of benefit to marginalized sectors. Pero kasama yan sa ilalagay ko, Chris, sa amendatory law.
Okay.
Na dapat wala talagang gumagamit ng mga pangalan o initials ng mga government programs o kaya yung mga pangalan ng mga TV shows. That would be part of my amendatory bill.
Okay, and do you think may chance papasa yan?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Hindi ko na muna iniisip yung yung kung mapapasa ba o hindi.
Sa bagay.
Just like yung anti-political dynasty bill, I will still file again an anti-political dynasty bill. I filed that when I was a senator. But of course, hindi naman talaga pinapansin yan all these years. But we'll try again this time.
Yeah. To try to convince your fellow members of Congress na, hey, this is actually good for the country.
Yes.
Not personally for you, but for the country.
Definitely. For the Constitution.
For the Constitution.
Upholding what the Constitution says. Malinaw po sa ating saligang batas na dapat merong enabling law. Number 1, malinaw, bawal dapat ang political dynasties. Prohibited. Ang nakalagay, shall be prohibited. Political dynasties shall be prohibited as may be defined by law. Yun lang ang pagkakamali ng mga sumulat ng Constitution na nag-require pa sila ng enabling law. Dapat diretso na nila yan linagay sa Constitution.
Is that the reason bakit hindi pa ma-implement?
Yes.
Dahil walang enabling law.
Enabling law na ang Kongreso lang ang pwedeng gumawa. Kasi yung enabling law, dyan i-define ano ba talaga ang a political dynasty? Anong degree of relationship or consanguinity or affinity? For first degree ba, second degree, third degree, or fourth degree na magiging bawal? And then syempre, mas gusto natin na dapat, kung halimbawa papayagan man, kasi I don't think magiging realistic yung total ban ng political dynasty.
Yes.
Ang kailangan lang i-regulate. Unang-una i-define.
Okay.
And then syempre dapat may malinaw din na probisyon na sinasabi, hindi dapat kayo nagsasabay-sabay.
Okay, so if you were the one so you're planning to file the law? You did
Yes.
already. Ano yung ano?
I will file,
I
refile.
mean, you did before, di ba?
Before.
Okay, so ano bang definition ng political dynasty? How would you say anong bawal at hindi? As basic as you can for everyone to understand.
Ang bawal po is that, okay, may nagkandidato ngayon, halimbawa, sa 2025 elections na isang member ng isang political family. There are several of them, lalo na sa national. Diba? So dapat sa susunod ay hindi dapat kumandidato, whether or not manalo uli, lalo na kung manalo uli, yung galing sa political family, ay hindi dapat na meron din dyan kakandidato na kapatid, ama, anak. Hanggang
Asawa.
pinsan, asawa.
Okay.
Yun,
Pinsan, hindi din pwede.
hindi na pwede.
Uncle, tito, tita.
Yes. Hindi rin pwede na sabay-sabay. Sabay-sabay sila.
Hindi pwedeng sabay-sabay kumandidato, hindi pwedeng sabay-sabay magkaroon ng posisyon.
Sabay-sabay na magkandidato. So, but then, that is an open question actually. Na Congress pa rin, pag-uusapan pa rin yan, unang-una, dapat malinaw na talagang rini-regulate ang political dynasty.
Okay.
Pangalawa, anong level?
Yes.
Anong ano? And then dapat yung, lalo na yung ganyan, yung sabay-sabay. Hindi pwede yan. In fact, kahit wala pang batas, hindi ba it's a matter of delicadeza?
Well, that's what we don't have a lot of with a lot of political figures. Walang delikadesa dito. May mali ka na nga ginawa, hindi ka pa mag-resign. Kahit sabihin ka na mag-resign, magda-double down ka pa nga, di ba?
Yun nga.
Yun ang problema dito eh. Pero sa political dynasties also is pang problema, and I really realize both bills you're planning to file are connected because yung party list system, like you're saying, is being used by political dynasties.
Yes.
So by filing the party list system amendments, it also actually protects against the loophole para sa mga political dynasties to be able to come back in.
Yes.
Which is already being used right now.
Correct.
Okay. So, having said that, those are two very important bills that I'm seeing. What other bills are you looking at? I'm sure marami kasi ang daming pwedeng at kailangan palitan sa mga batas sa Pilipinas. What is another important bill?
Okay, ang iniisip ko rin is yung tungkol sa pag-limit din at pag-define nung pinakamandato ng bicameral committee of both houses of Congress. Alam naman natin, Chris, na di ba budget. So, dun muna yan sa House of Representatives. And then, yung version nila papadala sa Senado.
Okay.
Then yung Senado ay re-reviewin yung ginawa ng House of Representatives. So maaring may mga pagbabago dyan o mga modifications o kung ano man. And then, pag okay na, napirmahan na ng both, ng Speaker and the Senate President, i-forward na yan muna sa bicameral committee.
Okay.
Kasi actually, the budget process starts with yung sending by the Office of the President nung NEP, National Expenditures Program.
To submit to Congress?
To Congress.
Okay.
At yun ang pag-uusapan, yun ang i-review, yun ang talagang gagalawin nila yan o hindi ng both houses. Pagtapos na yan, doon na sila sa bicameral.
Okay.
And then the BICAM is composed of members from the Senate and members from the House. Parang yung commission on appointments din. Pero ang nangyayari ngayon, akala natin, at buong akala ko noon, yung BICAM ay tungkol lang sa pagre-reconcile ng mga hindi klarado o pagkla-clarify ng mga hindi klaradong mga items sa budget. Pero ang nangyayari ngayon, hindi. Parang they have the plenary power to do anything about the budget as submitted to the BICAM. Yun ang nakikita doon sa naging resulta. Look at what happened sa 2025 budget. May mga umangal talaga na masyadong mga pinakialaman doon sa version na galing sa both houses of Congress. So sana may malinaw na batayan o may malinaw na guidelines para kung ano exactly ang dapat ginagawa ng BICAM. And more importantly, dapat transparent din ang proceedings because it's not transparent.
Okay, you mean say you'd like to have cameras in there?
Yung that's, parang mga ano lang, pag
Public
nagko-committee
hearings?
hearing.
Yeah, which is right
Yeah.
now all live streamed.
Yes. Transparent. Any mode that would make it transparent.
Yes.
Hindi yung mabibigla na lang
Na.
yun na pala. Although, pag galing naman sa BICAM at merong mga na iba dyan, binabalik pa rin actually yan for ratification by both houses. Pero ang nangyayari, nakakalusot lagi yung pag binabalik na nila sa Senate and sa House of Representatives, yung galing sa BICAM, ay wala nang nagki-question
Right.
doon sa plenary. So nakakalusot yung paggalaw, yung mga iniba ng BICAM.
So just so I understand completely and the viewers understand yung what you mean, ano? So ang nangyayari dito, Congress submits a budget, right? That's from the NEP, submitted to Congress. Once Congress has it, they send it to Senate. The BICAM is only supposed to make sure na walang discrepancies on the two versions,
Yeah.
yung na-submit at yung na-receive. Pero ang nangyayari ngayon, beyond that, is they're actually making changes to the submitted budget by Congress.
Yeah. Okay. And then yung sa House and Senate, kasi the Senate can also
Parang
modify or change.
Make
some
their
of
own
it,
proposals
Make their own proposals.
before it goes to BICAM.
Before it goes to BICAM.
But why is it wrong that BICAM can just say, well, you know what, tinignan natin to and maybe we can improve it. What is wrong with that?
Then that means, that's why some people would call it that the BICAM is perceived to be a third house.
Or it's
We're
a
just- we're-
usurpation of authority in the sense
Yeah.
of the two houses? It
yeah.
kumbaga, it overrides the two houses by doing, so they
Yes.
become a small
A
version
small version
na-
of both houses.
with a lot of power because
lot of
now
powers.
hindi na
Correct.
nakikita ng both
when there's supposed to be just two houses.
Right,
The
okay.
Senate and the House of Representatives, the regular Senate and the regular House of Representatives. But the BICAM is a creature of tradition in both houses of Congress. Na yan ang nangyayari. Okay lang sana kung walang ganon na mga naging issue nung 2025 budget. Look what happened in the 2025 budget. Di ba may mga binawasan na like the 4 Ps, 50 billion was cut.
PhilHealth, zero.
PhilHealth, zero. Tapos yung computerization
Oh, yeah.
program of DepEd, 10 billion yung inalis.
Yep.
When these are very important projects, pero ang pag-alis na yun, nangyari na sa BICAM. And so there mga realignment of funds, let's say sa mga bagong mga proyekto like the AKAP.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kasi ngayon lang linagay yung AKAP.
But if that's the case, ano, bakit hindi na pag binalik for ratification to Congress and to Senate, then they can just make another revision? Or it just becomes too tedious ba? Or
Yes.
they don't check it na kasi they're assuming okay na dapat to.
Most of them ganon. Parang hindi na sila, they don't have time anymore to do
Yes.
that. And more often than not, pag binabalik na, malapit na yung end of the year.
Yes, the deadline.
The deadline. Kasi kung umabot ka doon, lumampas ka doon, wala na. Reenacted budget na. And that is what is always being avoided. The reenacted budget. Right?
Ah, wow. I'm learning so much about this budget thing. I have a question for you regarding budget. I'm very particular about budget. And I remember the first time we spoke, binanggit ko sa'yo yung isang issue ko with the budget. It's the confidential funds. Now, I want to know, will you at least try to file to get rid of the confidential funds? Or not get rid, sige, to lower it back to reasonable levels, unlike what it is now.
Okay. That would be taken care of during the budget deliberations. You can always make that proposal na okay, itong department na ito hindi na dapat to binibigyan ng intelligence fund. Ito pwedeng bigyan pero konti lang.
Yes.
Limit lang to really the agencies, the departments, the instrumentalities of government na talagang merong security-related functions and other functions na kailangan talaga ng intelligent intelligence funds. For example, okay, syempre clear sa atin yung AFP, yung PNP, yung NBI,
Yes.
NICA, as National Security Council, and all, PIDEA.
Yep.
Meron dapat intelligence confidential funds. And then DOJ, because of the WPP,
Right.
Witness Protection Program. Siyempre may mga ano yan, for safe houses.
Yes.
You have to secure witnesses. So kailangan ng mga confidential funds. Pero dapat maging maingat lagi ang Kongreso when the executive through the Office of the President in the NEP ay maglagay, mag-propose ng mga intelligence funds, dapat binubusisi yan. Maging mas maingat na. Tapos sa Office of the President, di ba yung Office of the President necessarily, dahil nga siya yung Commander-in-Chief
Yes.
of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So necessarily, meron din siyang confidential intelligence funds. Pero as to the level, kailangan bang ganong kadami, mga 4 billion, mga ganyan? Baka naman pwedeng less lang. But definitely, the Office of the Vice President,
Does not
what
need-
in heaven's name does it need intelligence funds for?
Right.
The past Vice President, di sila humingi. Si VP Lenin noon, never humingi ng intelligence and confidential funds. Even DepEd.
DepEd, exactly. I was
Ano
gonna
bang
say.
pwedeng intelligence
Pero,
funds ang
Well,
DepEd?
what's really insulting for me, when I saw what happened with the confidential funds and how it was bastardized is just in the hearings, lumalabas, nung tinanong, what did you use it for? It was never intelligence work. It was for medical aid. It was for mga kung ano-anong ayuda binibigay. And you're like,
Yung
wait a
mga
minute.
satellite offices.
Yeah, o satellite offices for
When
what?
these are political patronage.
Pero that's what was frustrating was harap-harapan. Sinasabi na nga na hindi naman inaamin na hindi intelligence work yung ginawa. And yet, for some reason, our mga taong bayan natin still accept it as okay. And yung paggamit ng mga alias na nalagay nga yung pangalan
Fictitious
ni
names. Chel Jokno.
Chel Jokno. Marian Rivera. Pati si Marian nakakuha ng
Alam
100,000.
mo, Chris, hindi ko alam if it was a case of stupidity, plain stupidity, or hubris.
Hubris. It's hubris. For you to put that down, that's not being stupid. You just don't think you were gonna get caught or that you think you're above the law.
The sense of impunity.
Sense of entitlement pa.
Yeah.
Grabe. So that's why talaga important magkaroon ng I don't know how to be able to assign accountability when this person doesn't believe they're accountable to anyone. They don't believe they have to play by the rules.
Kaya nga, merong chapter ang ating saligang batas, yung accountability of public officers. At kaya nga, merong proseso called impeachment, lalo na dun sa matataas.
Nako, magandang usapan
Diba?
yan. Oh,
Kaya nga ganun eh. Kasi hindi pwede, no one, not even the president is supposed to be above the law
having said
and
that,
beyond accountability.
and having said that, you talked about impeachment, and you're now part of the prosecution team. Okay.
But officially, not yet. Because hindi pa kami ni Chel. Remember, hindi pa kami officially...
Yes.
Yes,
Until
na-proclaim na kami. Pero ang term namin of office will start July 1.
Right.
Because the term of office of all the members of Congress now, the incumbent members, up to June 30 pa. Okay, na-proclaim na kami pareho. And we were already invited na maging members of the impeachment prosecution. And we both said yes already. But officially, technically, hindi pa kami.
okay.
Hindi, but of course, we were. Me personally, I'm starting to prepare because I of course I realize, I know the sheer importance and significance of the process.
Yes. Now, this one, medyo magulo tong impeachment because nga it's coming between two, the incoming and the outgoing eh. And will the impeachment start ba before July or not?
If we go by, meron ng pinalabas si SP, Senate President Chis Escudero, na parang timetable. And in fact, June 2, magko-convene in the sense na yung prosecution panel must officially read on record the articles of impeachment. So pinapatawag na yung impeachment, yung panel of prosecutors sa Senado para basahin officially. Although the articles of impeachment have been transmitted already. Pero yung babasahin for the record, mangyayari pa lang sa June 2. And then the next day, June 3, ay magmi-meet uli at para mag-issue na ng summons to the respondent, to the official impeached, si VP Sara Duterte, for her to answer, to file her verified answer para sagutin niya yung articles of impeachment within 15 days. And kung ano pa man ang mga preliminary orders na dapat i-issue ng Senado. And then meron na rin silang Senate within June, the pre-trial. And by the way, before the pre-trial, kapag makapag-submit na ng answer within the proper period, si VP Sara ay parang magkakaroon ng parang arraignment.
Okay.
Kailangan niyang mag-plead ng either guilty or not guilty. And then pag mag-answer na, the issues have been joined, so magpe-pre-trial na bago yung actual trial. Well, yung point na you're trying to raise, Chris, is that pwede pa ma-justify yan na yung magkakandak ngayon ng trial sa July. Kasi hindi pa naman matatapos yan by June.
Yep.
So July na yan yung talagang magkakaroon ng trial talaga, or later part of July ata, if I'm not mistaken, dun sa calendar na release ng Office of the Senate President. Ay pwede pa ba yan na ang maglilitis kay VP ay yung bagong kongreso na, which is the 20th Congress.
Right.
And meron ng pagbabago sa membership. Meron mga bagong nahalal, o kaya, aside from being re-elected, like sila Bongo and Bato, re-elected, meron din mga bago. Like si Bam at si Kiko.
Yep.
So pwede pa ba yan na yung Senado as an impeachment court na bago na siya as a new Congress, pwede pa. It's an open, novel question of law. Hindi pa tayo nakakasiguro ano yung sagot dyan. Pero kami, syempre, well, I'm not trying to be speaking on behalf really of the prosecution panel, but I'm sure yan ang magiging posisyon ng prosecution, is that pwede pa.
Yeah.
Kasi yung impeachment process, hindi ito ordinary legislative work na kailangan sinusunod yung legislative calendar. Na kailangan ay, kasi kapag may new Congress na, back to zero
Yes.
Pag new Congress, in terms of lawmaking. Kasi yung mga final mo nga dati kang senador, o kaya dati ka ng member of the House of Representatives, kahit meron ka ng ganong bill, kailangan i-refile mo pa rin. Kasi bagong kongreso.
Okay.
But that is the legislative work.
Right.
The lawmaking mandate of Congress, the impeachment as an impeachment function is not really part of the ordinary lawmaking mandate of the House of Iba to. Special ito. Yung we call it sui generis, one of a kind.
Okay. That's
So, hindi dahil ganon ang rule dun sa ordinary legislation, ganon rin ba ang rule sa impeachment? We submit it's not.
Yeah.
Saka parang if you correlate it, o kung yung parallelism with the ordinary cases, marami naman nangyayari na yung naglitis o yung nag-umpisa ng kaso, nag-judge, ay hindi yung judge later na nag-try o nag-decide. Like for example, in my
right,
cases.
Of course, yes, of course.
In my cases, pito.
How many judges?
Pito.
Yeah, retired.
Or
Inhibit.
Yun. So, pero hindi ibig sabihin mag-uumpisa from scratch.
Right.
The new judge will have to take off from what transpired already before his entry as the judge. Pag-aaralan niya yung records.
Yep.
And yun yung nangyayari din nga yung hindi ikaw yung naglitis na huwes, pero nag-retire na yung naglitis o kaya nag-resign for whatever reason, so may bagong judge. Kahit hindi naglitis, hindi siya yung nag-handle during the trial, yung judge na yan, pwede pa o siya pa rin ang mag-decide based on the records. Ganon din sa impeachment.
Okay. And do you believe that the impeachment will be I mean, we all know it's a political exercise. Parang for me, it sounds like because it's a political exercise, what is the point of presenting evidence when several senators have already indicated that they will acquit VP Sara regardless of the evidence? So, parang naglolokohan na lang tayo dito, hindi ba?
Yan nga ang nagiging parang thinking ng marami. Kasi may, as you said, may ilan-ilan na dyan na alam mo na kung ano yung
Alam mo
mga
na kung sino
inclinations nila. Diba? Pero ako, for example, personally, as a member of the prosecution, ay hindi ko muna iniisip yan. Because, okay, ang importante, nabibigyan natin ng importansya, ina-uphold natin, sinusulong natin yung mga fundamental na prinsipyo ng ating saligang batas.
Tama.
Truth, justice, accountability. Malinaw yun. Kailangan. Kaya nga, may ganyang chapter sa Constitution, accountability of public officials. Now, okay, may ganun. Initially, may mga ganyan na boboto sila for acquittal. Pero let us remember that the impeachment trial will be open and public.
Yep.
The real audience actually are the people.
Yes.
So, mas maano pa to yung parang mas patok-patok kaysa sa Quadcom. Kung sa Quadcom noon, maraming napupuyat, maraming nanonood.
12 hours, 15 hours.
Ala Netflix nga yung Quadcom. What more
binge
dito?
watching,
Mas ano to, di ba? Yung impeachment.
Yes.
Because it involves the second highest official of the land. So, maraming manonood. So, kung maayos, malinaw, malakas ang pagkakapresent ng evidence ng prosecution, ay magkakaroon na kaagad ng opinion ang publiko. Makikita nila yan. Oo nga naman. Malinaw talaga na winaldas niya yung intelligence confidential funds. Malinaw naman yung kanyang, on video yon, maraming nakapanood yung pag-threat niya.
Yes.
Sa presidente, sa speaker, tsaka sa first lady na meron na daw siyang kinontrata na assassin. Diba? And then yung mga bank accounts.
Yes.
And of course, the prosecution will always request those bank records from the AMLAC.
Pwede na ba yun without the
yes,
person?
Yes, because there's a court case.
So hindi na pwedeng matago under bank secrecy and they don't have to waive the right na.
Those are one of the exceptions.
Yan.
Yun. So,
we need that.
Exactly. So kung lumabas lahat yun, magiging malinaw sa taong bayan, kung ikaw ang senator judge, at least many of them, I don't know kung yung mga talagang, because I think you know kung sino yung 5 na yun na
I can hear.
for acquittal.
Yep.
Siguro saradong-sarado na sila. I don't know. I'm still hoping na hindi talaga gano'n saradong-sarado sila yung 5 na yon. Baka naman masway na sila because they will be ultimately mananagot sila sa taong bayan.
Yeah. I like what you said and I think tama yung pananaw mo dito na dapat naman talaga going in as a member of the prosecution, you have to have that open mind that the judges are still impartial. Na kahit papano, makikinig sila sa ebidensya at hindi lang sa kanilang loyalties or blind loyalty.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you hindi mo pwedeng i-assume na hindi na to babago yung isip niya. Give them the benefit of the doubt because otherwise then you're gonna come in already parang defeated in a way in that aspect. Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi dapat it's out of your hands.
Yes.
Your job is just to make sure I present my case in as well as a manner as I can para makita ng senator, judges, and ng taong bayan.
Yes.
Now, beyond the impeachment itself, I really hope that the DOJ will at least file is it the DOJ that files the plunder charges?
DOJ, Ombudsman, Ombudsman for sa Sandigan. Isa pa yon, tama ka na kahit during the impeachment trial, may mga kaso na dapat i-file. And then meron na nga ilan-ilan, di ba, yung kanyang, there's this inciting sedition.
Yes, inciting sedition pa.
Yan. So, the Constitution says that, kasi ang pinakaano lang naman objective ng impeachment is to remove you as a public official.
Yes.
And then, with accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification from holding office. Pero yung criminal liability o kung meron ka mang administrative liability, ay separate yan.
Yeah.
that can happen after the trial or during the trial, before, during, and after the trial.
And let's say for example na hindi siya na convict sa kanyang impeachment. Pero may criminal cases na nga papasok, 'di ba? Tapos na convict siya doon, right? Can they still hold office?
Kung final na, hindi na. Final and executory na. Pero habang pending pa yung kaso, she's still an official, if she does not resign.
Right. Pero wait, are you saying
option.
If she resigns before the conviction, she can still run?
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
That is also an open issue. Kasi what if, nandiyan na yung ebidensya. Nakita nila, malakas talaga. So even before they would present their defense evidence, o kaya right after presenting the defense evidence, makita pa rin nila na malakas pa rin yung ebidensya before the judgment, pwede pa rin mag-resign. Now, ang tanong ay, kahit ba nag-resign na, pwede pa ba na tumuloy yung impeachment tsaka yung judgment in so far only on the aspect of disqualification from holding office is concerned. Kasi yung issue ng removal, moot and academic na.
Right.
Kung nag-resign na, wala na. Hindi na siya mariremove. Kaya nga moot and academic. But what about that other penalty of perpetual disqualification from office? Pwede pa ba? Halimbawa, tapos na yung trial, nag-resign. Pwede pa ba na yung magiging verdict ng Senate is disqualified ka from holding public office? That is, again, an open question. Kasi ano yun parang wala rin yung accountability mo parang madidiminish if hanggang dun ka lang sa removal simply because you resigned.
Yeah.
Parang you are pre-empt mo na yung the very judgment na kasing importante rin yun sa removal
Yes.
Both the removal and perpetual disqualification from office, para sa akin, equal footing.
Yes.
Dun sa implications niya. Kasi yun na nga, what if mag-resign na lang para maiwasan na lang yun? Pero pwede rin kasi yun, sasabihin nila, anyway, meron naman mga ibang kaso Kaya lang, we don't know kung kailan ito mangyayari.
Yeah.
I mean, di natin alam. You know how it is sa mga ordinary cases. Years.
Yes.
So kailan pa yan? So pwede pang kandidato in 2028.
Okay, so having said that, sige. So, with regards to the judicial system and knowing how slow it is, how maybe I'm being too harsh when I say it's broken, but I do believe it's broken. Because of the many examples, including your case that I've seen, that shows me it's broken. Do you have any plans? This is just a quick question. I want to talk about 2028. I just wanted to know, are you planning to maybe improve the budget of the judicial system? Because honestly, yun na nakikita kong problema. Ang liit ng budget para sa hukom natin, para sa ating mga hukom at sa ating mga korte. And that's why I think the judicial system's not working because they're overloaded with cases.
Yeah. Actually, that is being addressed already na sa tingin ko naman, every year ay parang dinadagdagan naman yung budget ng judiciary. But of course, this time, when I'm back in Congress, sa House of Representatives, I will really work for that, na dapat sufficient ang budget. And remember, meron silang fiscal autonomy. As a Supreme Court, parang mga constitutional commissions, may fiscal autonomy. Kapag binigay mo na yung budget sa kanila, hindi mo na yan pwedeng galawin, hindi mo na yan pwedeng realign kasi may fiscal autonomy sila. So dapat lang na sapat lagi ang budget ng judiciary.
And I don't think it's sapat. You know why? I've seen the Supreme Court building or one of the Supreme Court, I'm not sure, in Manila. My God, it looks like a haunted house. Nakakatakot talaga.
Yung mga halls of justice.
Yeah.
Meron na rin mga bago na mga halls of justice, pero meron pa rin mga...
Oh, nakakatakot. I would love to film a horror movie there. It is so scary looking.
Yes.
And even the salas of the judges, I feel bad.
Yeah.
When I saw the salas of the judges, I'm like, yikes.
Correct.
So, I mean, sa akin lang, So I hope maybe we can do something to
Yes.
improve on that as well.
Yes.
Okay, so moving forward naman to 2028. Alam mo, I honestly, I know we can talk for hours kasi we have so many things to discuss, but we have limited time. I wanted to ask you naman, sige, now that we're here na, you're part of the prosecution, and also with regards to the impeachment, we don't know what's going to happen. Moving to 2028, okay, if Sarah does not get impeached, convicted, what are your what do you think 2020?
If she's not convicted, she will most surely run. She announced it already. She said
she
as
did.
much.
Yeah.
She said as much na open siya. At pag sinabing open, I think sigurado yan na magfa-file in 2028. And she will most likely win. Kung walang mga magiging important developments, unless something happens, kung ganito lang lagi, and then ganyan ang politika natin, magulo at it's messy and all. And then with etong nakikita natin na hanggang ngayon, meron pa rin silang significant following. Although hindi not as strong as before. I guess, but meron pa rin, nandyan pa rin. And they still have the, yung meron silang proclivities to threaten people, to pressure, to intimidate, harass, and then buy off people. We don't understand kung saan nanggagaling yung mga budget na yan. Look at all the troll farms. Talagang on hyper mode na sila. Nung pagka-aresto pa nga lang, nung tatay, nandyan na naman yung mga grabe yung mga disinformation. Kaya lang ang ano ko dyan, Chris, sana yung administrasyon, looking back lang, ay naging ready rin sila sa comms aspect. They should have owned the narrative.
Yes.
Because it was such a phenomenal thing na nangyari sa history natin na merong head of state, buong Asia wala pang head of state na naaresto ng isang international tribunal like the ICC. So, naging ready sila dun sa pag-aresto, right?
Yes.
Kasi nga, sinalubong na nila doon sa airport. How come hindi sila nakapag-prepare as to the comms side? Tuloy, natabunan nung mga disinformation.
Yes.
Yung mga sinasabi nila na mga illegal, yung pagka-aresto, kinidnap yung tatay namin. Which is
Yeah.
There was nothing illegal about the arrest. And then that was definitely not kidnapping kasi there was a warrant of arrest from a court of competent jurisdiction. International court na inano ng Interpol. So pero natabunan wala halos sa administration side na nag-justify ng malinaw para labanan, i-counter yung mga false narratives.
And that's why that the job of the countering false narratives falls on us vloggers. And we're one in this against an army. And it's hard because pag tinignan mo yung mga social media, ang dami nila saying the exact same script over and over. It doesn't matter even if the comments are all negative against them. But the people see the headline. And if I'm one voice against 100, it is so difficult to counter the narrative that people believe them. Maliliit na voices sila, pero marami.
Correct.
It's incredible. And I agree with you. Sana talaga, I mean, honestly, can we give BBM if President BBM's watching, sana naman makinig ka. And please talaga, create your own
well, at least
troll army.
Nandyan na, kaya lang recent pa lang, si Claire Castro. At least talagang she's doing her job.
Yes.
Diba? So, sana there are more.
Yes.
Na, you need not engage also in disinformation.
Yes.
All you have to do is just really present the facts and the correct narratives.
Yes.
To counter the false ones. Another perfect example, yung kaso ko, di ba? Na nagpalabas ng decision yung Court of Appeals, and then yun na yung mga pinakalat nila na balik daw ako sa kulungan at convicted na daw ako. When that is not what the Court of Appeals decisions say.
And it's just so hard to try to put out all these fires. Ang hirap. I try. But I'm like, okay, topic here. Oh my God, ang dami pag-uusapan. I'm like, I have only so much time to shoot and edit. It's so difficult. And the people ask me nga, bakit daw sobra akong parang palagi ko pinag-uusapan ng mga Duterte. Ang sagot ko palagi, because their troll army keeps talking about them. Somebody has to combat
Counter.
that. Otherwise, people are just gonna believe the
Kaya
narrative.
we need more like you. Na ganon. You're not engaging in any fake news.
Yeah.
Hindi ka nagpapaano ng mga kasinungalingan dyan. You don't distort facts.
Yep.
You just state the facts
Yeah.
to counter the false ones, the false narratives. There should be more of that.
And I think there are starting to be, I'm starting to meet a lot of the younger ones that are on TikTok na talaga nagsasalita ngayon for truth. And it's amazing. So I am encouraging more nga to do that. My issue siguro right now with 2028 is I will be the more hopeful one or the optimistic one and not, or maybe the less pessimistic and say that most likely she's going to win. I will beg to differ and say na I believe na merong lalabas na third force that will be able to defeat this. I'm sorry if I'm going to say this. I don't normally put people good and evil, pero the Dutertes, in my opinion, are evil. I'm saying it because sa lahat ng ginawa nila, but for some reason, they have the perception of strength. I don't think they have the true strength or the numbers.
I agree. I agree. Kasi, alam mo na masyado na kasi sila talagang mga brainwash. And then of course, the money. The money is there. Lots of money. We don't know where it's coming from. You know, kaya nga may mga na it could be China funded also. So that hindi yan malayo. Now, I agree na yun din actually ang aspirations namin, lalo na yung showing ngayon sa elections. Hindi pa to yung pinakagusto natin. Sana more of those na mga nasa good governance side, the truth side, ay nanalo. Iba whether national or local.
Yes.
Pero this is some flicker of hope na ayan na, simula na. Kaya tama rin si Senator Risa nung sinabi niya na we are going to devote our time in the next 9 months or so for consolidation of the opposition forces.
Yep.
Magkaisa dapat. And then reignite, re-energize them. Nagsimula na eh. Hindi pa kumpleto, hindi pa ganun kalakas as in sa 2022, the camping forces. Pero many of them showed up. Many of them helped again. And then ang pinaka talagang naging strong, powerful vote are the youth votes.
Yes.
Where the youth votes. They came out.
Yes.
And they made a stand.
Yes.
Na eto na, ayaw na namin ng mga ganyan, ng mga celebrities na hindi na mo naman alam kung ano talaga ang pwedeng gawin. Ayaw na namin ng mga mabababaw lang. Ayaw na namin ng mga dynasties. Although meron pa rin na dynasty, pero medyo nababawasan na.
Yeah.
So the youth vote, yan ang hindi talaga na foresee ng mga other forces.
Yeah.
Na kapag ang mga kabataan, the Gen Z and the millennials ang gumalaw, you can be sure na yung para sa bayan ang mga mananaig.
So, ang lumalabas dito ngayon, ang labanan para sa utak ng mga tao ay utak ng kabataan.
Yes.
Kung sino maka-capture nun,
Yes.
o maka-brainwash nun, ang magwawagi sa darating na halalan sa 2028.
Yes.
So, importante talaga right now that tama yung sinabi ni Sen. Risa na kailangan natin talaga i-consolidate the forces, the information. Because that's one thing na nakikita ko talaga. With the other side is the other side is consolidated,
Yes.
organized, and strategic.
They're always organized.
Yeah, because they have the money. Yun yung talagang
Yes.
kailangan malaman natin. And honestly, I already have an idea of where that money is coming from. I mean, how many years of confidential funds have been confidential? We don't know where it's going. And plus the POGO and China money and all of that, which are being shown right now na may mga pro-China candidates are trying to subvert the sovereignty of our country.
Yes. They need not make a single shot at the West Philippine Sea all they have to do is pour in money.
Yes.
Because they know na, yung susceptible to corruption, certain institutions and certain public figures.
Yes, and those public figures, the way to get to them is by controlling the minds, yung mga utak at mga isip ng ating mga kababayan. Pag nakuha nila yon, that's it. Game over, wala nang soberenya ng Pilipinas. Kaya dun talaga nakakatakot. At alam naman natin kung sino yung mga pro-China candidates. Kaya nagtataka talaga kung bakit may mga nakakapasok pa. But having said that, sige, on a last note, I'd like to ask, what is your message? So this case, this is an important one. What is your message para sa ating taong bayan right now that's listening to this?
Okay. Kailangan magmanman tayo dyan sa darating na impeachment trial. Kailangan malaman natin eksakto kung ano talaga yung mga akusasyon laban sa kay VP Sara. Kailangan makita ninyo na ang ebidensya ay malakas at kailangan iparating nyo ang inyong boses, ang inyong pananaw sa tamang panahon kapag tapos na yung trial. Hindi po ito simpleng bagay. Ito po ay test case na naman, litmus test para sa ating institusyon. Talaga bang ang impeachment ay tamang proseso? Talaga bang yung Senado ay tama talaga na sila ang nagiging, sila yung manghuhusga? Litmus test ito Litmus test ito rin para sa prosecution. Kung gaano magiging talagang determinado sa paggawa ng kanilang mandato. Litmus test ito ng ating paggalang sa ating saligang batas.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Manay Laila. And for me naman, litmus test din to para sa ating taong bayan. Kung nag-iisip na ba sila, umaayos na ba ang pag-iisip at kung magpapabudol pa ba sila. Yun na yun.
Yes, exactly.
And honestly right now, ang mga nangyayari sa ating bansa ay nasa kamay at sa kapangyarihan ng taong bayan. Kung tama ang pag-iisip at tama ang pagboboto, magkakaroon tayo ng pagbabago. Kung nakapasok ang mga tulad nyo, tulad ni Bamti, tulad ni Kiko, at yung mga iba pang talagang lumalaban para sa karapatan ng mga manggagawa at mga taong bayan, meron pa tayong pag-asa. At dyan po, salamat po Manay Laila for your time today. At sana po hindi ito yung huling beses na mag-uusap tayo. Ha?
Yes, it's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Chris.
Alright, salamat and thank you everyone for watching this podcast. At pag nagugustuhan nyo mga ganitong klaseng content, please subscribe to this YouTube channel at i-click mo na yung notification bell yan para ma-notify kayo sa susunod na video ko. At by the way, mag-comment na rin kayo dyan sa aming mga pinag-usapan ngayong araw na to. Kung tingin ba nyo, nag-a-agree kayo o nagdi-disagree sa punto na binring up namin. And I'm welcome to all opinions whether you agree or disagree. Salamat sa inyo lahat. Ito si Chris San with Manay Laila. Have a good day.